Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to dive into what it looks like to turn towards the person that you want to be, the life that you want to be living, and to recognize how to stop living in autopilot and doing things that don't feel in alignment with who you truly believe that you are. So you can turn towards what you do want and pursue those things in your life that you are wanting. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas. So on Tuesday, I challenged you to think about what you might be doing in your daily life that you might be doing on autopilot, that you might not even be recognizing that you're doing, and it's really not in alignment with who you are, with who you feel like you are, and who you want to be as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, right? We are going to get into that today about how you can recognize that, but actually turn towards the things that you know you want in your mom life. So I want to start off with just an explanation. I found this, Mel Robbins actually did an episode on autopilot, and it was like, I think 7 signs that you're living on autopilot. And what she defined autopilot is you're living on autopilot when you're just going through the motions every day. You're not present, you're not growing, and you're not being intentional with your decisions. And I thought that was perfect. That is exactly what I am talking about. These are not intentional choices that you are making. You are defaulting to a state of being that is not in alignment with who you feel like you truly are. You are just going through the motions maybe. I know I referenced that on Tuesday as well. There was a point in time where I just felt like everything I was doing was on autopilot. My heart wasn't in anything. I was just kind of going through the motions of mom life. I was going through the motions of what I thought I was supposed to be doing. I was not really thinking about decision making. I was having to make decisions, but I think I was just on this like autopilot where I don't even know if I was really filtering my decisions through anything other than just maybe the way that I thought I was supposed to be doing things, or the way that, the world was telling me things should look or be done, or whatever it was, because I wasn't really in a space where I wanted to or could make those decisions because I was that depressed. But hopefully you aren't in that depressed place. Hopefully you aren't, that down yet, or that much living on autopilot yet. If you are, please, I would love for you to reach out to me, even just an email, like not even necessarily signing up for my coaching, although that would definitely help as well. But just email me because you are not alone. And I do not want you to feel alone. And I do not want you to continue down this path. And one of the things that we can do, first thing really, is recognizing that you are in this place, right? Recognizing that you're not really present in any of your moments. You just feel like you're going through the motions on a lot of things. And if you aren't in a place where you're going through the motion on all of the things, but you're going through the motion on some of the things, you are actually the person that I am talking to today, because you're not in that, place where your whole entire life is feeling like it's on autopilot, but you are making decisions out of either habit or out of overwhelm or out of frustration or whatever it is. Like, I'm just going to put out a hypothetical situation of what this might look like. So you might be waking up in the morning and you are dealing with kids things, maybe you're playing with your kids in the morning, you're making them breakfast, you're doing all of the either breakfast dishes, or maybe you're emptying the dishwasher. If you're like me and you run the dishwasher at night, maybe you're emptying the dishwasher in the morning and cleaning up the breakfast dishes and, trying to figure out what you're going to do for your day. And maybe you have to go to the grocery store today or run a different errand, and you're trying to figure out maybe something fun that you can do through the day. Maybe the kids wanted to go to the library. I know we used to go to story time a lot of times at the library, and it was a little fun that we could do. There were other moms there, and I never really, interacted with many of the moms other than, just like pleasantries being exchanged. But, there would be like a little story and some like little songs that they did, and maybe they would dance around a little bit. And then, it would just kind of be an hour that I didn't have to plan, that I could go and do, and then maybe you're going to run your errands and whatnot. And maybe you're doing all of this stuff, right? And all of a sudden your kids start melting down. You brought them a snack and you thought you could make it to run your errands before you could get home for lunch. But, the kids are starting to fight and they're starting to bicker with one another, and they're just getting really cranky. And, maybe the older one doesn't want the younger one to play with their whatever it is, stuffed animal. It's probably is my case. And so they're like fighting over the stuffed animal. And then you get to the store and they're starting to make a scene and all of this, and you get back to the car and you are so overwhelmed and so frustrated, and you just feel like such a failure because you were embarrassed in the store and now they're fighting in the car. And so you lose it. You're like, listen, you too, and you start yelling at them about how they need to stop fighting and they embarrassed you in the store, and you just like lose your cool, right? And then you go home and you feed them lunch and you're going about the rest of your day, and more things are piling up. You have laundry to do, and maybe the baby doesn't want to take a nap, right? I still call them babies when they're your youngest, and because they're all your babies, right? But the youngest is your baby because they need more care than the older one, right? And they didn't get their nap, and so you're spending extra time with them because they're a little crankier than normal. And if they're anything like my kids, once they got to a certain age, they just don't nap. Like mine only napped while they were breastfeeding, and they really didn't nap once they stopped breastfeeding. So like for me, my oldest would not have been napping anyway, but my youngest would have had a nap. And when my youngest was napping was a time where I would actually have one-on-one time with the older one, which they were used to right before the baby came along. And now maybe they didn't get their one-on-one time. And so they're just being a lot more needy, right, than they normally are. And you lose it with them because you're trying to get things done and they won't stop like bugging you and bugging you and bugging you. And so you lose your cool again and you yell at them. And this is your default, right? This is your autopilot. Your autopilot is yelling at the kids. Your autopilot is being so stressed and so overwhelmed and going through the motions so much on a daily basis that you are yelling, right? That you are not acting the way that you feel like you should be acting. You are losing your cool more often than you would normally. And if you had planned your day differently, or if you had done this or that or the other thing and been more intentional, then you might have been able to prevent some of these things. But because you're kind of going through the motions, and because you don't really feel like you're able to be present, and because you don't feel like you are moving towards anything, or you feel this pull like you want more, but you don't know what that more looks like. And so you're always kind of yearning for more, and you don't know how to get it, and you don't understand why you're even unhappy with how things are. And so you're just in this overwhelmed state all of the time. And it has you at a place where you get angrier than you normally would, or you lose your cool more quickly than you normally would. And there are definitely certain things that trigger it. There are certain things that set you off. But right now, your autopilot, the person who all of a sudden grabs the wheel from you and takes over for you, and you feel like you're asleep at the wheel, right? On who you would want to be, is someone who loses their temper. It's someone who fights with maybe your husband or loses your temper with your kids more often or isn't as present in your moments as you would like to be, and you don't feel like you're growing or going where you want to go. And there was actually a Bible verse that inspired this episode, and it is Psalms 34, verse 14, and it says, "Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it." Now, you might not think that it's like turn away from evil kind of sounds like the devil, right? And that is not what I'm talking about here. I'm not even saying that you are evil. I am not saying that at all. But what that verse made me think about was that we have to turn away from things in our life that we don't want there, right? We have to recognize first that they're there. That's why I asked you to think about this and think about some things and some places and some times and maybe even, through your whole day where you feel like you're on autopilot, where you feel like you're kind of having an out-of-body experience. If you were to look back on your day, like, would it just all be a blur or would you remember it, right? And then you have to turn towards what you do want, right? So turning away from evil in this one instance, I guess, would mean like recognizing that you're doing this, recognizing that your default is something that you don't want it to be, recognizing that your autopilot is not who you want her to be, right? And then do good. What can you do to fix that? Well, recognizing it is the first step, right? But then we have to seek the things that we want and pursue them, right? So we might know what we want in our life, like what all of this work that I always talk about, the work that we do in my coaching program to build that foundation so that we can like build a roadmap and plan out how we're going to get to our true north, right? We have to first seek what we want and then pursue it. So we seek peace, or we want to seek presence in our life. We want to seek all of these things, but then we have to pursue them. And what does that look like? Well, it's going to look different for everyone, but it's going to start with the same work, right? It's going to start with building that foundation. It's going to start with figuring out what we want and why. And we are going to have a clear mind in order to do this, because this is something that we're going to have to do in steps. But this Bible verse really inspired this episode. And then I think it's going to be this whole series, because when I started to think about it, I am like, this is what happens. We get stuck. We start to feel trapped. We start to feel like we are living a life that we wanted, but all of a sudden now we're in it and we don't understand why we feel trapped. We don't understand why we feel stuck, because this is what we want. Like, we want to be here. We want to be raising these children. We want to be at home with them. So why are we so overwhelmed? Why aren't we happy? I know I felt broken and I felt like so alone. I felt so alone and I did not know what to do. But I'm going to go back to the Bible verse. We are going to turn away from evil and do good, because that thinking that what is wrong with me? Why am I not happy? Like, how come I have everything that I want and yet I'm broken, right? Like, I'm broken. I am alone. That is evil, right? Like, that is from the enemy. That is not what God wants. We talked last week about rooting in God, right? And who he says we are and what he says about us. And this is not what he would want, right? He would want us to be thriving in what we want and who we are. But we are kind of at odds with that right now, because our identity has changed, and it is a good thing. Like, it really is a good thing. We are a mother. This is what we wanted to be. But if you're anything like me, you also want more. You may not even know what that more looks like yet, but you just feel it. And it is this unsettled feeling, and it makes you feel so conflicted. And this is what we're going to kind of unpack over the next couple of weeks. And I hope this is making sense to you, because I know I kind of felt all over the place when I was having all of these thoughts about, that started with this verse. And then, I was thinking about autopilot and how we just feel stuck and we get in this rut and we don't even know who we are anymore. And we don't even know why we're acting the way that we're acting. And I felt like I had to kind of lay the groundwork of that first. And then we are going to get into some more things over the next few weeks and really unpack this and hopefully propel you into the place that you want to go so that you are pursuing the things that you do want in your life. And you can put all of this autopilot and all of these things that do not feel in alignment with who you are behind you. That if you default to autopilot, your autopilot is someone who looks like what you would want to look like running your mom life, right? As opposed to this version of yourself that you don't even recognize anymore, which is maybe where you are sitting right now. So I want to end with one quote here, and this is from Perdita Felician. Perdita Felician says, "The times when I am running the best are when it feels effortless. The body is on autopilot doing what you have trained it to do." The body is on autopilot doing what you have trained it to do. So we may not feel like we trained our body to be doing what it's doing now, right? But something has trained it to do that, whether it's the overwhelm, the stress, and all of the things that have been weighing you down that are making your autopilot look like something that you don't want it to look like, right? This version of yourself is making these decisions or acting in a way that don't feel in line with who you are. And that is a problem, right? And so we want to retrain that. And how do we do that? So we're going to unpack that over the next few weeks to get you on the path to where you want to go, because this is not the version of yourself that you will live with. This is not the version of yourself that you want. And so in the interim, I want you to, number one, just know that recognizing it's half the battle. Right? You just recognizing when you default back to this person that you do not want to be acting like, just recognizing it, and then be present in your body. Like, get present in your moment. Figure out a way that you can ground yourself, right? We talked last week about those roots. For me, it's always going to be God, right? And so we can hang on to a scripture verse. And you know what? I'll actually list some scripture verses that I think you should hang your hat on, or you could hang your hat on in the show notes so that you can reference those. But just take a minute. Right? For me, when I was in the worst, I would go and remove myself to the bathroom, and I would say to myself in the bathroom mirror, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I would continue to say it until I believed that I could get myself out of the bathroom and I would have the strength through Christ, because I didn't feel like I had the strength myself to continue on with my day. All right. Now that's when I was really, really depressed. Hopefully you're not in that place, and hopefully your autopilot isn't there yet, but I will cite some biblical truths that you can say to yourself to help you to go into the direction that you want. You could just sit there and take a deep breath in the moment to just ground yourself and bring yourself back to the present, because bringing yourself back to the present is how you remove yourself from that autopilot version of yourself. Okay. And so I will leave you with that for this week, and we will jump back into it next week and talk more about the renewing of our mind. Okay. I will meet you back here then. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right back here next week. Keep smiling, y'all.